we're gonna go through a couple different things. We're gonna talk about what me and you see on video, and I want to actually display this because I think it's just simpler just looking at it and talking it through. All right. So, all
Not
right.
to mention, if you say it without showing it, people are gonna argue with the actual fact.
Right. Okay. So what do we care about with quarterbacks? Accuracy. I'll just start off with a bang here. All right. He is the most accurate quarterback I've ever watched on a daily basis. Okay. And I've watched Brett Favre. I watched late career Steve Young, Dan Marino. I'm talking about all angles and tight windows without turning it over. Aaron Rodgers is the only one on that level. And it's like no one wants to give him credit because he's 5'11" and black. Point blank, I said it the other night, I'll say it now. That's what it is. All right. Now, what do you agree with that assessment? Is that too far?
Yeah. And here's why, and some will try to say I'm comparing apples to oranges, but why is it half of all of the football talking heads, let's say, are still under the impression Baker Mayfield's a top 10 to 15 quarterback in the league, and the other half think he's a backup? Meanwhile, he's never done anything Russell Wilson's done, but yet he's given the ceiling that's above Russell Wilson by half of the public. So yes, I agree with it, because Baker's half the player, needs the same plays designed to get to windows if the line is tall, or create lanes to throw through as opposed to over top. It's the same. 5'11's 5'11 no matter who it is. Why does one guy have so much potential? Because he curses a lot.
Well, and I think an even better example is guys like Drew Brees. So Drew Brees is not as athletic as Russ. He doesn't have, he used to have a great arm, Brees. Okay. But I think Russ is a little bit stronger of an arm.
Russ had a stronger arm than Brees. That's just what it is.
Yeah. So why can Drew Brees prosper? And he played in a dome, and we'll get to him later when we go over numbers. But why is Drew Brees, Steve Young, we were talking about a couple inches here. It seems like it's all about the jumping off point and where the narrative started with him. So I digress, because let's go into accuracy. All right. He's got the moon balls, the incredible deep balls. We know that. He made plays in 2013, early on in his career. He'd be running for his life, get hit by one or two guys, and just put a ball in a window that just didn't make any sense. And it was like, announcers was like, oh yeah, he must have been throwing that away. He even did it with that Lockett play on that Monday night game, or that Sunday night game. That incredible running sideways, getting hit, throwing it corner of the end zone, nowhere to put it. And it's like, yeah, he was just throwing it away. It's like, yeah, he's been throwing it away for 8 years now. Like,
oh no.
I'm kidding, obviously.
Yeah, let's go to a drill though. Go to the Pro Bowl skills competition when it was super windy, and I watched 3 other quarterbacks, and I only remember the last one before Russ was Mac Jones. And it's windy, and I watched the wind mess with a bunch of Mac Jones's throws, and he missed so many of the targets. Russ went 5 for 5 before he even missed the bullseye on a target. Yeah. Like, what he did in that drill compared to everybody else looked like a professional next to high schoolers.
Yeah. And literally. Again, that's just practice. You talk about the game itself. Yeah.
He was just throwing darts. Like, well, no, this is easy. Like, let me dump this 30-yard fade into the bullseye, this other one and he literally started with the deepest, most point ones and worked his way closer and was like 4 of 4 or 5 of 5. And because he tried to show off and gun the over the middle one, he hit the thing but missed the target, and then he just bullseyes it again. Like, the dude, he can do whatever he wants. And to your point, remember when I was like, it just annoys me that when a guy's open on the deep ball, he throws that lob where they have to fall under it. Let him keep running. But don't get it twisted. You can't hold that against him. That was on purpose because he guarantees catches.
Yeah, and then if it's close though, the guy's right on him, he'll put it right in the.
He'll throw it perfect, and he'll just run with it.
Yeah.
So that's again, you have the drills combined with this, to prove that he evolved to being comfortable. But the only time he played the numbers was when he knew this isn't going to go for a touchdown, but let's make sure we get the 50. Boom, and let him run under.
Yeah. So he's an all-time great quarterback in terms of accuracy. Now, athleticism, for his first 4 years prior to his, I think he had a high ankle sprain and a sprained ACL, and I think he never fully got back to 100% capacity after that. But the first 4, which he somehow played through an entire season, by the way, which is insane. Kind of Brett Favre did. He did have a tough year. But the first 4 years, he had supreme quickness, elusiveness, raw speed. Like I compare him to Steph Curry and Chris Paul. It's like he had Curry's quickness, but he had Paul's like stop, start, and just 360 vision, which leads me to my next point, which is like he does these crazy circles, knows where the line of scrimmage is. He always knows, even to this day, he'll pump fake or juke at the right time, and he'll just go right by a guy, even though he's not quite as fast, And now he's had to cope with getting older, so he can't make those ridiculous spin out plays like he used to make in the first few years. So does he run into sacks? Yes. He runs into sacks sometimes. But guess what? He eludes sacks because I don't want to get into how bad that line has been for the last 9 years.
Correct.
He has eluded more sure sacks than he's run into.
So check this out. I have the correlation between 2 players, and I mentioned this to you once before. The difference between Pat Mahomes and Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson is a better athlete. Other than that, it's very close and the same. And you just described the difference on one end, and I'm going to tell you what the other does because they're not as athletic, but it's for the same thing. And just like you said, he's running into sacks, but he also eludes them. But the reason you have to look at it as 66% to his advantage is because not only the sacks he eludes, but the time he creates is a sack for 20 minimum 20 of the other league teams' starting quarterbacks. So he eludes ones that people don't get where 20 other quarterbacks get sacked. He creates time in which the extra 3 seconds, if he doesn't get sacked or whatever second it is, 1 second to 3 seconds, another 20 quarterbacks in the NFL get sacked. And then he can get that playoff, and then maybe he gets sacked. So to your point, I'll acknowledge what you're saying from the other side as a negative. Okay, maybe he walks into a few sacks he shouldn't. But as far as how it affects the game, and I'm not talking about an instance that 1 sack cost them the game. No one play costs anybody anything, because you go back to the first quarter and say, if we did this, that doesn't happen. But anyway, what ends up happening is I don't think that should be held against him whatsoever, because everything he avoids is an automatic sack for everybody else. So anytime he does get sacked, it's like, and if he has a high number of sacks, it's not because of what you just said, which to your point, then I can't say he's running into sacks, but I'll give that up. Okay. I'll give that up. But I'm just saying, you put it on there. I doubt you even agree with that, but you're just giving one up because it's debatable. But to me, it's not even debatable.
I watch him on a daily basis. So, I watch all of his games. So I do see.
I don't think he's running into sacks, because any sack he runs into, everybody else is getting sacked. Okay.
Yeah. I hear you. So, I'm trying to be diplomatic. So
yeah, I know.
That's
why I'm conceding that. But Pat Mahomes, right? Yeah. Let's say where Russell Wilson creates a second, Pat Mahomes takes a Tom Brady-like step. And I actually think he sees the field and has more arm hubris, and always had a better arm than Tom Brady had as far as strength goes. So therefore, what happens is, I think where Russell Wilson fakes somebody out, spins, rolls out and throws it, it's just a fake out and a throw for Pat Mahomes. And what Pat Mahomes is going to do, he sees the throw Russ is going to make after he spins out, and Russ is just going to dart it in through coverage, wide open. If it's a covered play and you got to throw somebody open, Pat Mahomes is going to throw it higher and get it out a second sooner and throw it directly to a spot. So what is potentially a Russell Wilson sack, like let's say he rolls out and then the one look isn't there, he fakes somebody else out, that's where he starts holding it too long and he should have ran.
Right.
But that's where he turns into McNabb, Cordell Stewart, and a bunch of the other guys that were too busy trying to throw or hold on too long to throw because they were trying to overcome the rhetoric of their blackness.